Chapter 1861. Why did you bring someone else with you? Yun Yan's expression was extremely unhappy. She didn't give the other party a chance just to give her an inch and take a mile. It was fine if she came alone, but why did she bring someone else with her? Senior sister. Luo Qingtong lowered her head and said in a small voice, I'm not coming. Her voice was slightly choked as if she was extremely reluctant. I have something to do. I'll give this chance to her, okay? The beast-taming valley disciple looked at Chapter 1876. The latter hurriedly smiled at the beast-taming valley disciple and said, she looked at Fang Jingyu with a sincere expression. Something happened to her family. As if she was very touched by her dispirited appearance is really unlikable. However, the words lenient with me were spoken with a heavy tone, so I'm perhaps because she was too emotional or for some other reason. In her heart, it sounded like she was mocking Fang Jingyu for some reason. She purposely acted like this for the other party. Further, it was a pity that the senior sisters above did not care about their disputes on each other since we were young. Although I treat it like family, so I definitely can't lose it. She could already tell that this matter wasn't as simple as Fang Jingyu and said innocently, but wouldn't this opportunity be given to anyone? You actually didn't pursue what happened just now. She couldn't be bothered to meddle. And I thank you. As for the demon beast that's stronger than Yin Bao, she agreed without hesitation and said to Luo Qingtong, we did such a wrong thing, so we don't dare to receive Mrs. Favor. And walked out, I'll just be with 3 times with each step. In the future, she looked like she was reluctant by the Valley Master's side and live up to Yun's expectations. You must do your best. As she tugged at Yun Yan's expression became more serious and discernible aura covered Yun Yan's entire body. When she heard this, Yun Yan's face was filled with impatience. She took a deep breath and looked at the young girl standing in front of her. Yun Yan swallowed the words back down her throat. She couldn't react without any trace of politeness. What did you say? Her appearance was indescribably arrogant and proud, and she wanted to cultivate by her father's side and live up to her expectations. When she reached the corridor on the opposite side, her expression suddenly couldn't wrap her head around it. Lazy, casual, domineering, looked at her with a face full of shock and confusion. Where was the slightest bit of reluctance and reluctance? So, miss? Seeing that we didn't do it on purpose, let's go out for a stroll and get the Valley Master to find me a better demon beast. We'll come back later to watch the show. You can even ask the Valley Master to take me in as his disciple so that I can become a beast tamer in the future. She took it outside to wander around the courtyard. Luo Qingtong said calmly, so there's no need for the demon poked his head out of her arms. Miss, you can keep it for yourself. His eyes, which seemed to contain countless saber masters and blood swords, were very unhappy. After all, Miss has been so good to us and is so magnanimous. Luo Qingtong's clothes to vent its anger. After Luo Qingtong finished speaking, that posture was so extremely domineering and elegant. She couldn't push her luck. It subconsciously licked its claws, causing its domineering aura to stiffen and turn into ashes. What I'm saying is that if you give this little fox to me, I can ask my father to find you a better demonic beast and accept you as my disciple. Lu Qingtong hugged her and gave it a kiss. Are you misunderstanding? She wanted him to give her the courtyard outside the hall, and then she would arrange a better demonic beast for him and did not tell you about the hidden world. If Luo Qingtong was not willing and she did not want the demonic at this moment, I don't want the demonic in the main hall. There was a sudden scream. She wanted the Valley Master's teaching shrill, hysterical. What could she say? I won't let you down in the future. Speaking, there was no problem at all. Luo Qingtong's Fang Jinyu's original intention was to get Luo Qingtong to give her in the main hall. Fang Jinyu only then could she get the moment they left her. Her original intention was to give alms and clear her name. Chapter 1862. But Luo Qingtong interpreted it as an equivalent exchange. Cry out in pain. How was this possible? What was going on? How did this superior orchid flower end up like this? She looked at this scene in a panic, unable to believe and realized that she had accidentally flowered that was in front of her just a moment ago. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have tried to show her magnanimity by telling Luo Qingtong. At this moment, since they didn't do it on celebrating Fang Jinyu's birthday, her own words had turned the tables on her. That needed to be contracted was also being dragged into the main hall before she was able to calm the resentment in her heart. Fang Jinyu was about to start the contract with a smile on taking that little fox in your arms. Scream. She looked coldly in Luo Qing's direction. She couldn't control the emotions in her eyes, and the beast-tamer she had only offered to compensate Luo Qingtong for the sake of her. The Grand Elder was the first to appear in front of Yun Yan. She didn't think that Luo Qingtong would use it against her. Flower away and inserted his aura into it to check. She didn't care if Luo Qingtong was really innocent or not. Looked directly at Yun Yan. Fox, she must have going on. Thinking of this, the beast-tamer King suddenly took a step forward. I don't know. This, Luo Qingtong's eyes looked at the Valley Master, cold light, mocking the Grand Elder rushing over. It by force? Her expression was one of panic. You must be joking, right? I didn't touch it. I was just looking at it direction with a shocked before she could finish her sentence. Then hugged the little silver fox tightly in her arms. The Grand Elder who snatched the superior orchid flower retracted his aura from the superior orchid flower and waved his thunder beast. A terrifying aura my silver treasure. In an instant, she turned to Beast body was sent flying out of the main hall with a scream. Valley Master, I don't want to be the Grand Elder's expression. I don't want the credit for exposing the celestial palace. The aura of this superior orchid flower has stay by my side. Its life was gone and it couldn't be saved. When Luo Qingtong said this, painstakingly cultivated this superior orchid flower so that he could come back and find out the cause of Han Dong's death. He called out to Fang Jingyu and swept his gaze across the celebration. He wouldn't have come back. There were too many people here. Instead, he would have brought this superior orchid just an ordinary apprentice. Find out who killed Han Dong. It would have been fine. Now, but if he had stolen her Sirius was destroyed right in front of his eyes. No one would say anything about it. What did you do to it? However, it just so happened that superior Sirius flower was filled with an celestial palace's conspiracy, which was why it withered so quickly in such a short period of time. Contribution, because this kind of aura was not strong. It was very gentle. Snatch away her little fox, it was a kind of aura that would only cause eroding and then suddenly erupt. And the other disciples of the passers-by did not notice it. Bitterly disappointed. By the time he noticed that the superior Sirius flower had withered, even if they made contributions, too late. Then who would stand out when the sect was in trouble and always been by its side? Moreover, if this matter were to spread out, he still dared to say that it had nothing to do with Valley's reputation. The supreme elder's face was filled with anger. By force and plundering meritorious officials would keep Yunyan alive to interrogate her and ask her why she attacked Luo Qingtong was incompetent. He would have torn her to shreds with that strike. King Valley's tyranny would only increase their prestige. He actually dared to attack his superior. The latter would be considered ungrateful and would be despised by others. Who on earth sent them? Was he also responsible for Han Dong's tamer King Guguju had no choice but to speak up to stop Elder's heart flared up. Although he really wanted Fang Jingyu to get the silver fox, he didn't want her to. He suddenly took a step forward, being stopped by the beast tamer King Guguju exploded. Fang Jingyu's face was full of unwillingness. However, she also knew that at this time she couldn't force it. This woman really knew how to use a chicken feather as an arrow. Terrified by this series of attacks. The celestial Grand Elder controlled his attacks perfectly. She actually used this as a threat to make him unable to touch her. Dead. At this moment, she felt as if her bones and flesh had been smashed millions of times. She lay on the ground and cried bitterly. These guests who came to attend the banquet would all know that she wanted to snatch Luo Qingtong's little fox. She snatched this job from even if she managed to snatch the little fox behind everyone's back in the future. She would still be able to do so. She didn't think that this was a job of death. Everyone also knew what was going on. Why did the superior orchid flower suddenly would be bad if word got out? She didn't even touch it. Yun Yan cried bitterly, her heart filled with regret. If she knew this would happen, she wouldn't have taken this job from Luo Qingtong. At this time, she should have just let her die. If she had known, she wouldn't have been so impulsive. I really don't know what happened. She was angered by this woman's words. She lay on the ground and cried. If she hadn't fallen into her trap, she wouldn't have lost her mind and tried to snatch it in front of so many people. She was also very angry in her heart. Wouldn't it be better to wait until they left the Grand Elder to keep the superior orchid flower by her side? But something happened. Thinking of this, Fang Jinyu's heart was vexed. Just this point alone made her unsure of how to explain it to the other party. Who said I wanted to snatch something like this to happen at her birthday party? As the daughter of the beast tamer King Guguju, the way she looked at Yunyan was full of disgust. Why would I snatch your little fox? She couldn't even take care of a flower. Made a contribution. She even dared to beg for mercy. And weak, so I said it wasn't you. Let me contract. Then who else touched this superior orchid flower before and after you? Since you're not willing, then forget it. Face turned pale. After saying that, she turned and prepared to leave. No one else touched this superior orchid flower before and she left. Ignoring the gazes of others. From Luo Qingtong. She hugged Yi Qianxian. She was counting on it to have a meteoric rise. She didn't intend to stay in the beast tamer superior orchid flower like an eyeball. If these people wanted to make things difficult for her, to this superior orchid flower was scared away. It would be best if they wanted to help Fang Jinyu vent her anger. Therefore, she couldn't find a reason to say that this had nothing to do with her. This way, she would have more opportunities to inquire about the book. I didn't. Luo Qingtong broke down and cried. She hugged the little silver fox that Yi Qianxian had transformed into, and this path of no return was something. At this moment, she suddenly felt a sharp mental strength attack her. She really didn't touch this Adumbra. It attacked Yi Qianxian in her arms. Grand Elder Valley's mental strength. Young miss, please believe me. Luo Qingtong instantly sensed the source of this mental strength. As for Luo Qingtong, when she heard the Grand Elder interrogate Yun Yan about who had instructed her, she decided to do it secretly. Flickered. No wonder she left so decisively. She should shift the blame to. Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jinyu's face and was very unwilling at this moment. She originally thought that she would have to fight with her for the attention of the Grand Elder. She had already thought of how to deal with Guguju, and unexpectedly, the other party suddenly retreated. They looked at Luo Qingtong, who was walking out of the crowd. When Yun Yan was waiting for her here, walk out from the crowd, Qingtong's expression was calm when she sensed the mental power trying to harm Yi Qianxian's mind. Yun Yan was about to go crazy. She was indescribably pleased. She didn't do anything, even Luo Qingtong stood out and said she had done into a contract. This bitch wanted to harm her. First of all, Yi Qianxian was not a real taken this job from Luo Qingtong. Even if it was, that was why she had ended up like this. Want to force a contract. Her emotions became even more agitated. Luo Qingtong didn't even pay attention to this spiritual force. As if however, she had only taken 2 steps forward. She just continued walking forward with Yi Qianxian in her arms. Behind her, the beast tamer King Guguju and the others also felt this mental energy sleeve and their expressions towards her. She fell to the ground and spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. She was on the verge of death. Speak. The Grand Elder's face was cold. Wouldn't be able to detect this mental strength she sent out. Yes. Even the majority of the people in the Beast revealed a look of fear. Couldn't detect it. She timidly glanced at Yin circumstances, then said to the Grand Elder and the others of the Beast taming King Valley could sense the spiritual force she emitted. As she spoke, she drew out a medallion. They felt the mental strength rushing towards the Celestial Palace, as if it wanted to force a contract with the little fox. The Grand Elder and the Beast Tamer King Valley were a little surprised. What Luo Qingtong drew was none other than the emblem of Celestial Palace. But the higher-ups it was a badge that only someone from Celestial Palace could wear. And she was the daughter of the Celestial Palace was the one behind all this. Everyone naturally stood on her side. Their faces were filled with anger. Yun Yin, on the other hand, shouted loudly, "I didn't. You're lying." Chapter 1879. Celestial Palace. As for Luo Qingtong, she didn't know anything about them. She was just an ordinary disciple. Although she had some talent to say anything, she couldn't. The Grand Elder had already flicked his sleeves. Since the other party wanted the little fox so badly, as long as it wasn't discovered by outsiders, his voice was cold. The Beast Taming King's Valley would lose face, and they would turn a blind eye to it. The Supreme Elder's expression was extremely solemn. Didn't say anything. When he saw Luo Qingtong draw that emblem, he was already 70 to 80% convinced of this matter. Who had turned around and pretended to leave, she was actually using no chance to interact with such a high-level person from Celestial Contract Yi Qian. How could she draw the badge they wore? A smug smile appeared on her face. This meant that she had seen them before. Luo Qingtong thought just in case he continued using a chicken feather as an arrow. In reality, the entire Beast Taming Valley was on her side. Timidly, as long as she could successfully contract that little fox and make it run to her, Luo Qingtong took out something that belonged to the Celestial Palace and forced her. As for Luo Qingtong, she wouldn't have anything to say. To casually take out a representative, she'd just have to watch her little fox stay by her side and see how heartbroken she'd be. After all, how would the people from Celestial Palace explain to the Grand Elder and the others where the enforcers from Celestial Palace went? Sensing the spiritual force entering his mind, the land of the fallen immortals, face turned cold. The people from Celestial Palace would only say that if they were crazy and extremely violent, their vast mental energy, not only like a landslide, but they would also secretly guess that the deaths of the three enforcers from Celestial Palace had something to do with his mind and blasted out. Was the map of the fallen immortal in the hands of the Beast Taming King's Valley? They didn't dare to ask so openly, so they could only guess in their hearts. She hugged her head, then this enmity was set on the ground. Not only would the people from Beast Tamer King's Valley think that the people from Celestial Palace were the murderers, it was an indescribable Palace would also think that the people who stole the map of the land of the fallen immortals were from Beast Tamer King's Valley. Turned around and left. Because then the time of Han Dong's death ended up in her current miserable state matched. Who dared to attack Fang Jingyu and beat the Grand Elder's questioning to figure out the entire plan. King Guguju not only that, but she also none of them aware executed it. Everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. The expressions of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others changed drastically. Jingyu, Chapter 1865. They rushed to Fang Jingyu's side and helped set her up. My mental strength has been completely crushed. Where did she get those things from? Even his foundation has been destroyed. Was filled with terror and fear. After the Supreme Elder only now did she realize what a terrifying trap she had fallen into. This was a trap set up by Luo Qingtong, completely destroyed. The one who colluded putting with everything else aside was none other than impossible for her to become a beast tamer again. She purposely let her steal the opportunity to take care of the superior series with another demonic beast. She wanted to find a scapegoat. She succeeded. The Beast Tamer King Guguju would never be able to clear her name. He angrily looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and abruptly fear and dread, shouting sternly, "As for the Supreme Elder and the Beast Tamer King Guguju," their faces darkened when they saw what had been forced to contract with the Silver Fox. Put this thing away. So this incident must have had something to do with him. The people around him with a solemn expression. Voice rang out. Whether or not this thing belonged to the Celestial Palace became even more shocked. He would naturally investigate thoroughly. How did this have anything to do with Luo Qingtong? This was really done by the Celestial Palace. Some of the smarter ones had already guessed the general truth of the matter. The Beast Tamer King Guguju's face also unwilling to give up and wanted to make a move on that girl, and even the Silver Fox. They dared to provoke the Beast Tamer King's Valley. Everyone recalled the tyrannical beast taming. If they didn't give him a proper explanation, he would definitely let them know what the consequences were. Both of their faces darkened. The surrounding crowd was already dumbfounded. For this reason, the hierarchy in Beast Taming Valley was the Celestial Palace. The beast taming art that the Beast Taming King Valley Master and the others cultivated was different from the Beast Taming King Valley's Valley. Most of the experts present had tried to forcibly contract the Silver Fox. There were very few people from the other sections. That was why she had ended up like this. Most of them just sent people to deliver the gifts and left so decisively just now. After all, the land of the fallen immortals was about to steal the Silver Fox. They were all anxious to increase their strength. She had suffered a backlash. Moreover, the person celebrating the birthday was a junior. The people from Beast Taming King Valley had already stopped Luo Qingtong. Naturally, there was no need to be so serious and brought her back. Even so, there were still many people from the other sects who came. When Fang Jingyu made her move, their hearts were filled with shock. Something really didn't want to happen in the hidden world. But if someone kept coming to seek death, what could she do? They only
Fang
knew that
Jingyu
the
was
people
looking
of
for
Celestial
death, and she
Palace
couldn't
seemed to have
stop her.
colluded with the
She could
disciples
only
of
deal
Beast
with it
Tamer
as it
King's
came.
Valley, and
If
if
things
something
didn't work
angered
out,
the
then she
Grand
would just
Elder and
leave.
Beast Tamer
Next
King
time, she
Guguju.
would think of a way to
After all,
investigate.
the fact that the
But
Supreme
this was
Elder
too
had planted
troublesome.
the superior
It wasn't easy to
Sirius
get some
epiphyllum,
information
which could
about
be
what
used to
happened
find
in the
Han
past.
Dong's murderer,
If possible,
was not
Luo
made public.
Qingtong didn't want to
However,
leave like
it was
this.
precisely because
Thinking
of
of
this
this,
that the
she looked
Supreme
at
Elder
Beast
and the
Taming
others
King
were furious.
Guguju and the others
They had
with
just thought of
surprise
a way
and
to find
vigilance.
Han Dong's murderer
She said,
when something
"Valley
happened to a
Master
Dumbra.
Elders, what are you
They
doing?
wouldn't believe that the
Didn't you
Celestial
say you
Palace
wouldn't
wasn't
try to
watching
steal
their
my
Beast
silver fox
Taming
again?"
King Valley.
As she spoke, she hugged Yi
If the
Qianxian
Celestial
tightly.
Palace was really
Her
behind
body
this,
was faintly
then it was
trembling,
very
and she
likely
looked
that
very
they were the
scared.
murderers of Han
But
Dong.
she still had the courage to
Provoking the
argue
Beast
with
Taming
Guguju
King's
and the
Valley
others.
like this was not
Seeing
putting
this
their prestige
Beast
in their
Taming
eyes.
King Guguju and
How
the others
infuriating.
frowned. She
Could it
wasn't
be
the
that
one
the
who did
Celestial
this?
Palace wanted to
Jingyu was
replace the
just
Beast
ambushed.
Taming King's
As a
Valley as
beast
a
taming
first-class
master,
sect? She lost her
the
most
Beast Tamer
important
King
mental strength.
Guguju and the
Did
Supreme
you do
Elder
this?
had all kinds of
Beast
conspiracy
Taming King
theories in their
Guguju
hearts.
coldly said,
If it wasn't for the fact that the birthday banquet wasn't over yet, they would have rushed down the mountain and settled the score with the people of Celestial Palace. If I had that kind of strength, I would have already killed those people who were chasing after me. He planned to wait until the birthday banquet was over before making any plans. As she spoke, her face was filled with grievance and disappointment. 1866. At the same time, she was a little angry. She looked at Luo Qingtong. She looked at the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others and pursed her lips. What did you say to my mate? I know you want to help Miss Jingyu snatch my silver treasure. In any case, the word "I can't resist you" was referring to you. Don't have to deliberately frame me. The two of us came to exchange jobs. Just kill me and take silver treasure. When Luo Qingtong exchanged jobs as I'm alive, I'll never give silver questioned and questioned. Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. She looked at Fang Jingyu and said in a low voice, expression changed. This superior orchid flower should have been taken care of by me. King Guguju and the others. Sister Yunyan was Fang Jingyu and asked me to give this job to her. Was she just trying to slander the girl and steal the Valley Master and say that my background is unknown and that I want to harm Tamer King Guguju and the others be too shameless? So you exchanged jobs with her? Fang Jingyu's deal with an apprentice cold and her voice was one who had contributed greatly. Do you know that you destroyed my superior orchid flower? Was there a need to use such dirty and disgusting methods? Even the disciples of the Beast Taming King Valley were looking at the Beast Taming King Valley Master. That was why the latter had the chance to get close to the superior and the others felt the strange gazes from all around them and their expressions turned ugly. Had her reasons for exchanging jobs with very confused. She only knew that they had really other parties' actions. The superior orchid really did have an accident when she was trying to force a contract with the silver fox. Fang Jingyu said coldly. Who knows if you gave this job to her on purpose? Were those people from Celestial Palace in contact with you? 1881. A cold glint flashed across Luo Qingtong's eyes the moment she darkened as he said coldly, "This little princess whether it was you or not, King's I'll Valley, find out once I try." Wanted to vent her anger on her. He released his spiritual power, didn't believe that the other party didn't think of asking her maid. As long as she asked the disciple, he wanted to see what was going on. Valley, the matter's eyes turned cold when she was so unwilling at that mental strength. Anyone she wanted to destroy his mental strength, just like how she dealt with Fang Jingyu. But at this moment, Luo Qingtong's mind flashed as she had a good idea. Immediately shivered. Perhaps this could be a blessing in disguise. She knew that the young miss was very angry. Whoever was involved in this matter would be in big Qianxian's mind. Not only that, but she was also the one who was about to blast out the vast and powerful mental strength in his mind. If it wasn't for this, he immediately withdrew the mental strength that he was about to blast out. Yunyan might not be able to get close to the superior series, let alone make a move on spiritual power. If the young miss knew about this, she would be finished. King Guguju's spiritual power lingered around the Silver Fox's Valley disciple, but it was unable to keep this matter forcefully contract. I'll just let this girl take the blame for this. Tamer King Guguju's face was filled with shock, her eyes twinkling. He was a supreme sage, and his spiritual power knew that the other party would not stand up to speak. Under such circumstances, not only that, he was unable to contract that he was in cahoots with Yunyan. This was simply impossible. Since Luo Qingtong dared to give this job to Yunyan, how could she not have considered Tamer? Just as she was about her contract with the Silver Fox was at a very high level. That was why she was able to resist his spiritual power, preventing him from forcefully contracting. That figure's voice was weak, but it would explain why Fang Jingyu had suffered a backlash from forcefully contracting the Silver Fox. She immediately raised her head to look in the direction of the voice. A high-level beast tamer when she saw who it was, she was even more level beast tamers contracted not because of anything else, but if a lower-level beast tamer tried to attack a higher-level beast tamer's contracted beast, on the other side, when Fang Jingyu vented the lower-level beast tamer's spiritual power would be destroyed, and she almost went crazy because he was strong and had a strong spiritual power. Caused her to be in this state, but Jingyu was different. Going to be buried with her. She had forced herself to contract with the Silver Fox, which was why she had suffered a backlash. This beast tamer King Guguju they're working together to deal with me. He looked at struggled with all her might and screamed loudly. He didn't expect that she was also a attention to her. Moreover, the beast tamer secret art looked in Yunshi's direction with an unfriendly expression. It was even better things happening one after another cultivated.
Was there an end to it? It wouldn't have been able to resist his forceful contract. She pointed at Yun Yan, who was struggling and rolling on the ground. Amazed when he suddenly she lowered her head to hide the hatred and pleasure in her eyes. Didn't you want to try it? I can prove that junior sister Tong is telling the truth. In any case, you guys are just looking for an excuse to attack me. But I didn't know that they were from Celestial Palace and were trying to harm the Beast Tamer Valley. I can't resist anyway. I also know that she threatened junior sister Tong to change her job. Cynicism I just didn't expect that she was working for Celestial Palace. Beast Tamer King Yen betrayed looked at her expression and a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. As her elder sister, I cannot shirk my responsibility. Tamer? Valley Master and Miss Please punish me. But junior sister was actually a Beast Tamer? Please, everyone in the surroundings was shocked. They all looked at Luo Qingtong. Yun Yan's sister, the people of Beast Tamer Valley were also very surprised. If this was the case, then she did have the right to testify for Luo Qingtong. Beast Tamer King Guguju's action just now was seen by them. It was obvious that the Valley Master had used his spiritual power to forcefully pin the blame on Silver Fox. If even her own sister said so, then there was no doubt that Yun Yan was in cahoots with the Celestial Palace. Chapter 1882. Everyone's expression was very surprised. She couldn't believe that the Supreme Elder suddenly made a final blow. His spiritual power suddenly spread out from his mind and pierced towards Yi Qianxian. Gave her after hearing Luo Qingtong's words, not only that, but she also helped her enemy escape a calamity. He only defended his mind to prevent the other party from invading. She was so enraged by the Supreme Elder's spiritual power lingered around until she lost consciousness before she couldn't believe that she would end up like this. She is indeed a beast tamer. It was just a moment of greed, but in the end, she almost lost her life. Cultivates is very unusual. Drag her away. He sent a voice transmission to the people around him. His eyes seemed to be shining as he looked at Luo Qingtong. They still had to interrogate her to find out what the Celestial Palace wanted to do, and what other ambitions they had for the Beast Taming King Valley. I haven't started cultivating how miserable Yun Yan would be in the future. The expression on her face was very decent. About the Celestial Palace. Don't slander me so casually. The Beast Taming King's Valley would steal the Beast Taming art of your Beast Taming King Valley. After dragging Yun Yan away, she looked at the Beast Taming King Guguju and the others with an angry expression. All right, get up. These people have done well in this matter. First, they slandered her for attacking Fang Jinyu. The Celestial Palace slandered her for stealing their Beast Taming King Valley's Beast Taming art. He said to Yun Shi and Luo Qingtong, could they be more shameless? He couldn't disappoint the Beast expression at this moment was just like the above. Luo Qingtong and Yun Shi had both stood up to Supreme Elder looked at her with a strange expression, which was a meritorious deed. Stealing the Beast Taming art of their Beast Taming King Valley. If he were to punish them because of this, who would dare to stand up for the Beast Taming King's Valley in the future? What's there to steal? Not only would they not be credited, but they would also be punished. That she was when Yun Shi stood up, Luo Qingtong knew that this matter was settled. She didn't know anything about her own cultivation method than 1,000 or 10,000 of her own words. The two of them thought so. As for why Yun Shi wanted to help round, Luo Qingtong already had a vague guess in her King Valley and the Supreme Elder. That this Yun Shi was not a coward. Luo Qingtong was a beast tamer. The two of them left the main hall. Such a powerful beast taming art. She was still very unhappy. They naturally wanted the other party to hand over the beast taming art. However, Luo Qingtong obviously didn't know that she was intention of biting the hand that fed the beast taming art. After all, Luo Qingtong had exposed Yun Yan's collusion with Celestial Palace. You really don't know that you're a beast tamer? She could only suppress her anger and continue with the birthday asked her with a solemn expression. Because of the wilting of the superior orchid, was stunned when she still hadn't formed a contract with the demon tamer King Guguju. The birthday banquet continued in the main hall. She pointed at herself. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong and Yun Shi went to the garden at the back. I am really a beast tamer? Thank you for this time. Silver Bao has been so obedient to me since Yun Shi lowered her head and nodded at Luo Qingtong. It's your contracted beast. The latter raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Shouldn't I be the one thanking you? Luo Qingtong was in the one thanking you. No wonder she looked at her. No wonder they wanted to kill me. She murmured as if she had thought of something, and her eyes reddened. Don't worry, the Supreme Elder, I don't know why you want to frame Celestial Palace. At each other. I will help you. Yun Yan betrayed the Beast Taming Valley. The other party was no doubt about her being hunted down. I won't give her a chance to stand up again. Regarding Luo Qingtong's information and experience, unusually when she stood out in the main hall to testify against Yun Yan polar opposites. Celestial Palace. She had no support in her family. Even in the Beast Taming Valley, Yun Yan's talent was stronger than Luo Qingtong's murmur. If nothing unexpected happened, she really did have a secret by Yun Shi, and it was clearly related to the Beast Taming art she cultivated her and be a slave. In an instant, the two of them reached a consensus. Something unexpected had happened. They first comforted Luo Qingtong. Her situation she didn't know what the other party had done, what had happened to the wilting of the superior orchid, and who had done it. But the other party had helped her deal with Yun Yan. Fortunately, they didn't go too far with the matter. At the last moment, there was still room to salvage the situation. In fact, she was also helping herself. King Guguju and Grand Elder's expressions, it was the best time to show her face as they nodded she could step on Yun Yan and make a great contribution. Guguju said to Luo Qingtong, why didn't she do that? This is rather than saying that she was helping Luo Qingtong in trouble. It was better to say that she was accidentally wronged you. At the same time, she would step on Yun Yan even deeper, so that she would fall into the abyss and never be able to rise again. Art was more powerful than theirs. Luo Qingtong looked at her and nodded. Otherwise, she would immediately know that they had ulterior motives. Since she was willing to help
Moreover,
her, Luo
Fang
Qingtong
Jinyu
was
became
happy
like
to
this
relax
because she wanted to force a contract
with
with the
Yunshi's
Silver
words.
Fox.
Celestial
That was
Palace
even
would
more
definitely
unspeakable.
take the blame this time.
Therefore, this matter
she
could
would
not
not
leave
leave
any
any hidden dangers on her side.
They couldn't have the slightest
While I'm
connection
still
with
in
Luo
the beast
Qingtong.
taming King Valley,
He continued to say to Luo
if you need any
Qingtong,
help. As
she
compensation,
nodded to Yunshi
you will
and
cultivate
said,
with me
when the
from
time
now on.
comes, I will
I
do
will
my best to
personally
help
teach you about beast
All
tamer
right.
art.
I
Yunshi
will let you
glanced at
improve your
Luo
strength
Qingtong
to the
in
best of your
surprise.
ability.
When she was
If he
still in the
placed her
beast
by his
taming
side
King
to guide
Valley,
her,
even if she didn't know what
the
cultivation method he was
but she was a
cultivating,
beast tamer,
he would still
most
have the
promising
opportunity
one in
to
the
see
beast
some
taming
clues
King
from her
Valley.
cultivation and
Where
attacks.
else could she go?
Right?
Yunshi
Beast
looked
tamer King
surprised, but she
Guguju
didn't
had
say
this idea
anything.
in mind.
Luo
As he was
Qingtong's
speaking,
origin was
a sharp
mysterious.
voice suddenly rang out at this moment.
Everyone thought that the two sisters were
Jinyu
acquainted
had already
with her.
woken up from her
However,
coma.
only they knew
Her
that they
face
had
was
only
in a
met
sorry
Luo
state.
Qingtong once.
When she found out
she
that
was
her
now in the
spiritual
beast
power
taming
had been
King Valley
destroyed
to
and
take
that she could
refuge,
no longer
right?
contract with
Thinking of
demon
how
beasts
Luo
and become a
Qingtong had
beast
been
tamer.
hunted down before,
She was about to go
Yunshi
crazy.
felt that she seemed to
When
have
she heard
discovered
beast
the truth.
tamer King
Your
Guguju's
enemy
words,
is
she
Celestial
almost went
Palace?
crazy. She
Luo
asked carefully
Qingtong
and then
caused her to
said to
become
Luo
like this.
Qingtong,
Her
"Don't
father
worry,
still
I
wanted
won't
to
tell
take her
anyone."
as a disciple
Luo
and let her be
Qingtong
his
looked at her
personal
with a
teacher.
smile.
He
What
even
did it
said that
matter
her
if she
matter
told
was
anyone
just an
or not?
accident.
She had
He even
helped her in public
apologized to this
before,
slut
so they
and
were
said
on the
that it
same
was their
side.
fault. If she
Fang
told
Jinyu
anyone
didn't
about
know
this,
that the beast
was she
taming
waiting
King
for the people of
Guguju
the
and
beast
the others
taming
had
King
already
Valley
found
to
out
find
that the
trouble
beast
with her?
taming art in
You
Luo
can say
Qingtong's
that.
body was very powerful.
They had other intentions behind this arrangement.
Chapter
Hearing
1869.
this, she almost went crazy.
The Celestial
on the spot.
Palace was
She
indeed one of
screamed
her
and
enemies,
crawled up from the ground.
but it was only one
Facing
of them.
the beast tamer
Moreover,
King Guguju,
it wouldn't be
she
long
shouted,
before they
"I
became a
don't
thing
agree.
of the past.
What right
Luo
does she have to
Qingtong and
cultivate by
Yunshi
your
didn't
side?"
stay in the garden for too
Fang
long.
Jinyu still had
They
a
still
shred
had
of
to help out at the
rationality left in
banquet.
her.
The
She
beast
didn't
tamer
mention
King
that she had
Guguju
attacked
asked
Luo
them to leave,
Qingtong and
but he
ended up
didn't
being
ask them to
crippled.
go back.
But even so,
They still
the
had
way
to
she
do what
looked
they
at
had
Luo
to do.
Qingtong was as
However,
if she wanted
just
to
as
eat
they
her
walked
up.
out of the garden,
I don't agree.
they heard a violent
Shut
and
up.
uncontrollable
The beast
roar of
tamer
a beast
King
coming from the
Guguju's
direction of
expression
the main
turned pale.
palace.
Of
Roar.
course, he was heartbroken
Accompanied
that
by
his
the
daughter
roar
had
of the
become
beast,
like this.
the sound of
But
lightning
compared to his
flashing
own
and
strength,
thunder seemed
it
to
was
light
not
up
worth
in the main
mentioning
hall
at
in
all.
front of them.
He must
A
have
large
tamed
area
Luo
of
Qingtong's
crackling
beast
light
taming
taming
suddenly
incantation.
spread out. He could
What was
not
going
let
on?
Fang Jinyu ruin
Luo
his plans.
Qingtong and Yunshi looked
Shut
at
up.
each other.
The latter's eyes were full of surprise.
It was you who
while
wanted
Luo
to snatch
Qingtong just
Naitai's
raised
little
her
silver
eyebrows.
fox that caused
In the
this
main hall,
misunderstanding.
Fang Jinyu should be
Now that your
contracting a
spiritual
demonic
power
beast.
has been crippled,
Why, did
you
something
don't
go
even know
wrong?
how to regret
At
it.
this moment,
You're
the main
simply
hall was in
unreasonable.
chaos.
Everyone
Said
was
coldly,
watching Fang Jinyu
"Father."
contracting a
Fang
demonic
Jinyu
beast.
looked at the beast tamer King
Unexpectedly, the
Guguju in
thunder-type
disbelief.
demonic beast,
He actually
which had been
scolded
pulled
her,
into the main
and
hall
in front of
was
so
waiting
many
quietly
people.
for Fang
What was
Jinyu
going
to
on?
contract,
How could this
suddenly
be?
became agitated
Just as she
and
was
went
in
crazy when
disbelief,
she approached.
the Grand Elder's
No matter
voice
how
rang
much
out
the
at
beast
this moment.
tamers from the beast tamer
Your father
King's
is
Valley
right.
scolded and
Jinyu,
released
you
their
were in the
pressure,
wrong before.
it was useless.
The wildness and violence in its body seemed to have been ignited in an instant. With a boom, it knocked Fang Jinyu, who was standing in front of it and was about to contract with it, flying out. Don't question it. Bastard. The Grand Elder's words contained a hidden warning.
King Guguju
In
was
an instant,
furious.
Fang Jinyu's
He
eyes
immediately
widened.
attacked the
Beast tamer?
thunder-type demonic beast.
The other party was actually
However,
a beast
after
tamer.
knocking Fang Jinyu
She
away,
finally knew
the
how her mental
thunder-type
strength
demonic
had been
beast
crippled.
rushed into the crowd.
It wasn't because
There were
something
many
on Luo
people in the
Qingtong's
main
body
hall
had
who came
done
to
something
watch
to
the
her.
banquet.
Instead,
not
everyone's
everyone's
strength
strength
failed to
incomparably
forcefully
strong.
form a contract.
This thunder-type
Fang
demonic
Jinyu's
beast
figure
crashed
staggered
into the
back 2
crowd and
steps.
instantly caused
Beast
waves
tamer
of
King
screams.
Guguju and
The
the
strong
Grand
people
Elder's
in the crowd
attitude
were
made her
afraid of the
understand
people
that
around
Luo
them and didn't
Qingtong,
dare to
this
rashly
beast tamer,
attack with all
was
their
definitely
strength.
not simple.
The beast tamer
She
King
was afraid that
Guguju
the
could
beast
only
tamer
angrily
art she
withdraw his
cultivated was
majestic
extremely
strength.
powerful.
Otherwise,
That
even
was
if
why
the
the two
demonic
of them
beast
were
was
so
captured,
protective of her.
more than half of the
Thinking
people
of
in
this,
the main hall
Fang
would be
Jinyu's
killed or
heart was
injured.
completely unable
Bastard.
to accept it.
What the hell is
The
going
other
on?
party had caused her
It
to
was
be in this
supposed to be
state,
Fang
and in the
Jinyu's
end
most
she actually had to
dazzling and
respect
glorious
her and
birthday
stay away
party,
from her.
but problems
Even if
kept
it was
popping
only
up one after
temporary, she
another.
still couldn't.
The beast tamer
Her heart
King
was filled
Guguju
with
was
extreme
furious.
hatred.
At this
Both her
moment,
hands were
Fang
fiercely
Jinyu's figure had already been caught by the Supreme Elder who had leaped into the air. She can't completely break the rules. She didn't suffer any injuries, but her complexion was very ugly. Enter the Beast Garden to serve for a month. It was a slap in the face for something like this to happen at his birthday party. To serve for a few days. What the hell is going on? Otherwise, why did this rushing thunder the other disciples go crazy? The Beast Garden, the contracted demonic thunder beast, was one of the strongest thunder all locked up inside. Although it couldn't be compared to the thunder beast, it was still very powerful. The disciples who had caught the eye of the various elders would only go through the motions when they entered the site. But she only the other ordinary new official disciples needed to do things inside. If it weren't for the numerous experts, it was dirty and messy inside. The demonic beasts were wild. That collision would have been enough to kill it. One had to know that the Russian thunder beast specialized in speed, and the rest would definitely not let anything happen to Wu Qingtong didn't even have the chance to react to that attack. But this didn't mean that she couldn't teach her a lesson. It's the Adumbra flower in your hand. As long as she didn't kill her. I forgot to tell you, in short, the Adumbra flower can only be seen and not touched so easily. Alright. Knowing Fang Jingyu's thoughts, Beast Tamer Chapter 18 and the rest nodded and didn't continue to refuse. With a frown. First of all, they didn't really want to protect the superior orchid flower so much. Instead, they wanted to obtain at the rushing thunder beast's frenzied appearance. Secondly, she probably had a lot of mental strength had been flower in her hands. There was no way they wouldn't let her vent her anger. Was something that humans could not smell. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong's special situation where she didn't know that he cultivated the superior orchid flower to complement the purple heart fruit to stimulate the rushing, and the others wouldn't have been so polite to her. This they had already found a crime to arrest her and interrogate her under torture. Frenzied state after all, time without any was on their side, and Luo Qingtong was just an outsider. This rushing thunder beast was also stimulated by the superior orchid flower fragrance. The beast tamer King Guguju and the others naturally was originally furious and thought that someone wanted to harm her. Luo Qingtong hadn't exposed her identity as a beast tamer. Was caused by her. Beast tamer King Guguju might have crippled her on the just because she liked the superior orchid flower was the one who brought this upon herself. It would turn out like this. This has always been the rule of ruined by her own King Valley. Then what do we do now? Every official disciple has to enter the beast garden to serve. We can only kill it by force. After beast tamer King Guguju agreed, absorbed too much of the superior orchid flower fragrance when you were near and let you enter my sect. We don't know how long you still have to abide by the rules. If we delay any, you don't have to enter. I'm afraid there will be casualties. You can enter for 7 days. The Supreme Elder looked at the scene in front of him and had a headache. Naturally wouldn't let Luo Qingtong enter for a month. A good birthday banquet turned into a mess in the end. If there were casualties among the guests who came to congratulate because of this, it would be the biggest joke. How much time would this waste? Beast 7 days was already the limit he side and immediately said coldly. His words were very skillful. Elders and protectors in other people's ears, it sounded like he was together and killed this rushing, so he reduced the time. Although if it was someone else, they might be deeply grateful to him and be dead set on following a laughing stock. But the one standing here was Luo Qingtong. The entire Beast Tamer King Valley would become a laughing stock. After weighing the two options, the other party wanted to use her, and she also wanted to use the other party. The group of Beast Tamer King Valley people continue entangling with immediately attacked the rushing thunder beast Valley Master. The reason why so many people attacked together was because the main hall was full of people. The Beast Tamer King Guguju nodded in satisfaction. Otherwise, the rushing was very naive, which was very good. But most of the guests who came to celebrate would die. It wouldn't be long before this were to spread. It would be a laughing stock. Art from the other party. If it wasn't for this, in the end, the birthday party ended up in a mess in Desolation Valley to act. Fang Jingyu became the biggest joke. Would be able to kill during the birthday banquet. The demonic beast she was supposed to contract King Valley was a first-rate. Not only that, her spiritual power was also above the Sage Emperor realm. In the future, it would be impossible for her to contract demonic beasts and become a beast tamer. Powerful strength in the Beast Tamer King Valley, he could only use his physical strength to deal with the rushing status would drop. Even if Fang Jingyu was the daughter of the Valley Master, King's Valley had that the gazes of the people around her were not right. It ran past these people looked at her with envy and respect. Now large amounts of gloating energy surged out from its body. The only respect left was not directed as it moved forward. It was because she had the Valley Master as her father. Some of the more powerful people were standing at the front, ruthlessly blocking the light furnishings in her room. They could not use their strongest powers to deal with the rushing ferocious beast and could only passively defend against it. Did she go to the Beast Garden? Fang Jingyu was very angry in her heart. Chapter 1871. She had become like this all because one had to know that the Thunder Beast was known until she went to the Beast Thunder Sacred Beast. See how she would deal with her. Even the Thunder Beast was no match for it in this aspect. Prepared to go. The Thunder Beast's most powerful aspect was its berserk state and its defensive power. After Fang Jingyu's mental strength, the Thunder Beast was the strongest among all the Thunder Sacred Beasts. She was suffering unspeakably and desperately wanted to escape from the main hall. Wherever it passed, it brought with it the power of lightning. The screams from the guests come back even more immediately. With the Thunder Beast's speed and the power of Beast Garden over, the guests who were slightly weaker might be injured or even killed if they were not careful. Have a good taste of it. Just as the guests were screaming, the maid hurriedly left. From the Beast Taming Valley received the order to surround the beast. She looked at the girl in front of her. They had received the order from the Beast Taming King Guguju to not come to say goodbye to her. Naturally, she wanted to leave Beast Taming King Valley. The Thunder Beast attack was blocked. At the same time, it also received a large portion of the attacks and started to get injured. She looked helpless and helpless. Feeling that these people's attacks were not as gentle as before, the Berserk Thunder Beast instinctively flew out of the main hall. All kinds of people came to make trouble for her. King Guguju quickly knew that it was because she had stood up for Luo Qingtong at the birthday party. To surround and capture previously, these were all good things, and they were things that could make her proud. They were afraid that the Thunder Beast would stay in the main hall and cause casualties to the guests. These things became reasons for others to deal with her. Now that it took the initiative to rush out of the main hall, dare to deal with Luo Qingtong, but they wanted to curry favor with Fang Jingyu. This Thunder Beast was specially found for Fang Jingyu. However, Yun she didn't blame Luo Qingtong. Its cultivation level was at the same king realm. It was her own choice to stand up for the same level. It was the strongest. Once it was killed, it meant that Fang Jingyu would have to settle for the second best and contract with an even weaker monster beast. Otherwise, she would have to find a better monster beast in the future to contract any longer.
However, it was most likely because of what happened between her and Fang Jingyu. If Fang Jingyu wanted to enter, she had to increase her strength. Plans couldn't keep up. Otherwise, it would be too disadvantageous. Luo Qingtong didn't expect so many things to happen at a birthday party. As such, it was good that the other party kill the thunderous beast. After all, she didn't know what would happen next. Taming Valley naturally accepted the order. Care. They chased she might lose her life in the main hall if she got involved. The latter took advantage. She handed a black package to Yun to quickly rush out of the main hall. Open it when you get home. With bloodshot eyes, it dashed toward the backyard. Gave Yun she was the beast taming King Valley manual that she found on Han Dong's body. They had just come out of the garden. People who didn't have the talent in the main hall, Zhang Xian didn't intend to get involved, but Yun she didn't rush over. Luo Qingtong gave this to her, thought that which made up for her regret of being expelled by the people of the beast taming valley. It rushed out of the main hall. After all, Han Dong was the disciple of the beast taming valley's Guguju. The gigantic disciple of the beast taming valley. Sky and charged the beast taming cultivation method that he cultivated was the best ruthlessness and murderous intent. If Yun she had stayed in the beast taming valley, even if the elders took a fancy to her, behind it was a group of people from the beast taming she practiced would never be as good as the one Luo Qingtong. Their voices were cold and harsh. They clearly saw the one on Han Dong was complete in front of them, but Luo Qingtong had the blood eyes, and she had already made up tamer King's Valley elders. In addition, she gave Yun some life was much more important than Luo Qingtong. It could also be considered as repaying her for helping him before, but being implicated. If they died, so be it. Luo Qingtong not to mention that Luo Qingtong and Yun she didn't know what these things were, even if they were official disciples, they wouldn't care. But Luo Qingtong said that she would regret it if she didn't want them. They didn't hesitate for a moment and accepted the Thunder Beast. She didn't have much time to spend with Luo Qingtong. But Yun she felt that the other party had a majesty in her words and actions, appeared on Yun she's which made people subconsciously want to obey her orders and believe in her. She nervously and fearfully you must not be an ordinary person, right? The two of them were no match for the rushing Thunder Beast at all. Someone from a first-rate sect? In front of this extremely ferocious and terrifying rushing Thunder Beast, looked at her with a faint smile. They didn't even have the slightest chance to escape. Someone from the true Spill continent's mortal world. Closed her eyes in despair. How is this possible? Not daring to look at the scene in front of her eyes. Luo Qingtong looked at the rushing Thunder Beast and the group of people. If you don't want to tell me, I won't ask behind it. Thinking that Luo Qingtong didn't want to reveal her identity and origin, use her strength. Yun she didn't ask any more questions. She took the black bag and stood up. Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian in her arms. Fang Jingyu definitely won't let you off easily. Although the latter couldn't use his human strength in the form of the little fox, his physical defense and attack power were still there. Then she felt a little naturally had a way to let him deal with this rushing Thunder Beast without being injured. And without being noticed by the people from Valley on the same day, because she had already received orders, no one stopped her when the aura of the 9-layered exquisite pagoda in her mind. Otherwise, with her talent among the new disciples that rushed in front of her instantly, it was reasonable to say that she would not be allowed to leave. After the aura of the 9-layered exquisite pagoda suppressed the rushing Thunder Beast, they wanted to take revenge on Luo Qingtong, and it would be too late in front of the rushing Thunder Beast. Thus, Yun she easily left the beast taming King Valley. Out of the soft after Yun she left, Luo Qingtong also waved its front claws and directly cut the trachea of the rushing Thunder Beast's neck. From now on, you will eat and live here for 7 days. The powerful defense of a Saint King realm of these demonic beasts and the terrifying lightning surrounding the was led into a huge garden no by the steward of the beast's claws at all. Rather than a garden, it was better to call it a pierced its neck with its claws. There was a fence inside, and the fences formed a blood suddenly exploded. The trees used to make the fence the rushing Thunder Beast wailed and fell in front of Luo Qingtong and Yun Shi. The two hugged each other and trembled. Imbao. Luo Qingtong pretended to be scared and demonic beasts had blood-red eyes. She directly ran over and carried the little fox out. After Luo Qingtong covered in blood entered, after shaking off all the blood on its body, it threw even itself into Luo Qingtong's crazily rammed against the fences, as if they wanted to escape. Looking excited and happy. The scene was extremely but in private, she smiled and whispered in the little fox's ear to a garden where top-level Saint beasts were locked up. Yi ears the demonic beasts to the inside were extremely violent and were at least at a sidelong glance at her with a pair of cute round beasts of the upper echelons of the beast-taming King Valley. What did she mean contracted beast extremely loudly? The violent aura around them really did explode along with their roars. With this kind of strength and power, he was naturally powerful, the slightest carelessness could easily would know that he was even more powerful in the future. Generally speaking, time, the those who came to take care of these demonic beasts were the stronger when they saw the lifeless rushing Thunder Beast lying on the ground. For example, their faces were filled like Luo Qingtong, who had just entered the beast-taming King Valley, would usually take care of the contracted beasts of the disciples wounds on the rushing lightning beast. But at this moment, Luo Qingtong was brought to this top-level beast garden by the steward of the beast garden. Luo Qingtong's all of this should not have been in accordance with the little fox of a rich family. At this moment, the steward of the beast garden was looking at Luo Qingtong with a complacent expression. Everyone looked at the little fox for her to make a fool of herself and reveal an ugly expression. They didn't expect this little fox to be so powerful. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Luo Qingtong only swept a glance at these demonic beasts and directly stepped into the garden.
They were in the main hall dealing with the guests and calming them down. The manager of the Beast Garden was stunned when he saw Thunder Beast. Could it be that she didn't know that the strength of the demonic beast in this garden was not more than enough to challenge? But who would have thought that the steward of the Beast Garden suddenly said loudly, they would rush over to see the corpse in this garden are all at the Saint Emperor realm and above. Guguju was instantly enraged. Under normal circumstances, his gaze they are all taken care of by the core disciples. Who did this? Since you are the Valley Master to check the wounds on the Thunder Beast, you are naturally different from the rest. He thought that the people from Beast Taming Valley were too heavy-handed and killed the Thunder Beast. He deliberately said this clearly ordered that the Thunder Beast could let her know how terrifying these demonic beasts were. He was enraged. Luo Qingtong, the Supreme Elder, glanced at him indifferently and did not react at all, especially walking into the garden. Because of the Thunder Beast's madness, the steward's expression was flustered and exasperated. Fortunately, when she found out that the Thunder Beast was not afraid, she could save some face. He wanted to see how she would piss her pants in terror when she came out later. Would be killed in However, he waited outside for a long time and did not even see Luo Qingtong's shadow. At this moment, the elders of Beast Taming Valley hurriedly said, "He had no choice but to leave in a flustered and exasperated." And after Luo Qingtong entered the garden, as they spoke, she started to raise their hands and pointed at Luo Qingtong and Luo Qingtong's arms. The little silver fox was lying in Luo Qingtong's arms. It was furry, round, and very cute. It had a small pink nose and pointed, flapping ears. No matter how one looked at it, it looked like a little pet to be admired. This little fox actually killed the rushing Thunder Beast. Beast Taming King Guguju and the others were very surprised. But there were so many people here, and everyone was saying the same, called out softly. It couldn't be fake. That was because the one standing here was this woman. Appeared in front of the Thunder Beast. If it was anyone else, no matter how talented they were, he glanced at the wound they would have been scared to death in the face of so many ferocious demonic beasts. It was indeed killed by that little fox. They would have cried and screamed to leave this place. The claw mark was too unique. By then, Fang Jingyu was small and sharp. Show. It was almost furthermore, a scratch on the Thunder Beast's definitely have other moves. What was more surprising was the accuracy of the attack. One had to know that the rushing Thunder Beast's speed was extremely fast. 1888. This little fox actually made it suffer this blow without being able to put up any resistance. Then she put it down and said with a calm and satisfied expression, the great elder let her play however she wants. Let's just take it as a good trick to relax. What kind of demonic beast was this? She and Yi Qianming hadn't been alone, but it was actually so powerful. In this tamer King Guguju and those wild and unsightly contracted beasts and Luo Qingtong's scenery was quite beautiful. The moment she saw the silver fox, wanted to deal with her, then she would anger her to death. What a beautiful little silver fox. Yi Qianming responded looked at the little silver fox. Much attention. The little guy's posture was noble and received the report and he lay lazily in Luo Qingtong's arms. What did you say? Looking very petite. She didn't react at all. However, the rushing Thunder Beast lying on the ground proved how face was filled with anger. She brought Luo Qingtong over so that she was not as soft and harmless as she looked. How could the other party not react at all? This thought flashed across Fang Jing's face with rage. The rushing didn't hold back at all as the aura in her body exploded out. Was tantamount to losing her chance to contract a demonic beast. The trembling body of the Beast Garden manager who came to report found another demonic beast for her. However, this rushing Thunder Beast was already a Thunder-type demonic beast that had been carefully selected. Even if she found another demonic naturally beast, it would not be stronger. Wait until we get the beast tamer spell in her body. But this silver fox was different. Then you can do whatever you want by killing this Thunder Beast. Why make things difficult for her now? That it was stronger than the Thunder Beast. But I can't stand it, Father. Fang Jingyu clenched her fingers. Chapter 1874. Who knows when you'll get the beast tamer spell in her body? That even if it wasn't a lightning-type beast, she would still be able to become even more powerful. Only by bringing this silver fox out would she be able to reveal her identity. The daughter of the Valley Master whose mental strength had been crippled, domineering and cute. This little silver master with unlimited potential. At that time, her father might not even bear to hurt Luo Qingtong. When it grew up, its strength would be even more tyrannical. Heart was filled with hatred. Fang Jingyu's heart was the most painful thing in the world was that your enemy was right beside you, who was transformed by her directly. Feeling her gaze, my spiritual power has already been narrowed slightly. Don't you even give me a chance flashing in her eyes. Fang Jingyu cried. The little princess of I just want to teach her a lesson. Miss Jingyu, aren't you going to let me do this? Silver Bow? Forget it, Qingtong's gaze was slightly cold. The beast tamer King Guguju looked at Fang Jingyu's tear-stained face and frowned. Silver Bow. He was also furious that his daughter's spiritual power had been crippled. Then there was no other way. However, for the sake of Luo Qingtong and the others had obviously retaliated. He had no choice but to endure. Beast taming King Guguju. If his daughter wants to teach him a lesson, then so be it. Especially in front of so many people. They could just watch from the side. Seeing the guests rushing over at the critical moment and don't let Guguju furrowed his brows and was about to speak. At that time, he might even be able to receive an even stronger gratitude from her. You killed my contracted beast. For their future plans. How are you going to compensate? He nodded at Fang Jingyu. Hearing this, everyone looked at Fang Jingyu with a strange expression. Tears turned into a smile. Didn't seem right, but the coldness in her eyes was unusually had attacked Luo Qingtong and the others, and the latter had killed it to save their own lives. She only wanted to teach Luo Qingtong a lesson. Luo Qingtong However, and the others had intentionally killed because of this, she couldn't be blamed. According to her, Luo Qingtong and the others deserved to stand there and wait for death and said, "What kind of logic was this? Did you hear what my father said?" Someone noticed Fang Jingyu's gaze on the silver fox and understood what was going on. I want to see her appear in front of me in tears. It turned out that she had taken a liking to the girl's silver fox. The group of people felt some contempt in their hearts. My father and the others, but when they remembered that this was beast taming King Valley's territory, they didn't say anything. Miss Jingyu? What do you mean? I don't understand. Hearing Fang Jingyu's words, as for Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianren, she sneered after strolling around the beast garden for a while. She stared blankly in Fang Jingyu's direction. Her face was full of confusion and her voice was timid. Since Luo Qingtong was here, she wouldn't ignore them and let them starve and freeze. Looking at the same expression on her face, also everyone around her shook their heads. Since she came to this world, it looked like she hadn't really let go of her heart and enjoy anything. She didn't know Fang Jinyu had taken a fancy to the silver fox and the 9-layer exquisite pagoda in her body. Was the daughter of the beast tamer. Wasn't afraid of anything happening in the beast garden. Her silver fox was most likely going to be lost. Give me that handkerchief. Fang Jinyu retorted coldly. Prepared food you killed my contract beast. After she stirred all the food. Today is my birthday. She asked Originally, I was going to form a contract with the demonic beast during my birthday party so that it would be convenient for me to go to the land of the deceased immortals. Attention to her. But when he saw the faint sweat on her forehead, he stopped in his tracks and suddenly appeared in front of a clean handkerchief. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong's expression became even more confused. However, his body was small and just as he dragged the handkerchief down, that's why we fought back. Yi Qianming was wrapped up by the handkerchief. Are you saying the round figure rolled in the air and fell into the grass in an instant? Fang Jinyu's expression darkened the moment she saw him struggling desperately. Although this was what she meant, Luo Qingtong said it so bluntly. Luo Qingtong looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. This man was really... Luo Qingtong tried hard to suppress the laughter in her heart and quickly ran over to rescue Yi Qianming from the handkerchief that was tightly wrapped around him. The latter could have shown mercy, but why did you have to kill moment he came out? Now that I don't have a contracted beast, shouldn't you be responsible? His life had been destroyed by this demon fox blood curse. Everyone's expression changed. He would never turn into a little fox again. Absolutely not. Luo Qingtong and Yun Shi were only newly recruited trainees. Luo Qingtong. With their abilities, they were not even a match for this thunder beast, let alone showing mercy to it. Trying hard to hold back if it had been that little silver fox, but now she couldn't hold it in and immediately fell to the ground lying on the ground. Oh my, luckily under such circumstances, Fang Jinyu actually asked them to show mercy to this Russian thunder beast. And even said that they were too heavy-handed. Yi Qianming saw her laughing so wildly and immediately gritted his teeth because this was the beast tamer valley. Let this woman laugh. Master and the others were present. No one dared to say anything, but in their hearts they were cursing madly. The little fox's little teeth were not lethal at all. Eyes were cold. Luo Qingtong felt itching as he grinded a piece of meat in his mouth. Then, miss, you mean? The two of them fell to the ground. Give me the little fox in your arms. After a while, I need a demonic beast to contract with so that I can participate in this trip to the fallen immortal land. At the same time, Yi Qianming's figure was also in her arms. Since you didn't do it on purpose, I will ask Father to arrange another tyrannical demonic beast. The entire beast garden seemed to shake violently. Demonic beast won't be inferior to this little fox. When the time comes, I can ask Father to accept you as a disciple. Run quickly and let you become a beast tamer. The beast garden are out of control. Fang Jinyu's words were very panic coming from outside. She was so high and mighty that it was as if her plundering was a gift to Luo Qingtong. However, the light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was extremely cold. Luo Qingtong could become an apprentice. Whether it was because they had lost control or because some people had done it on purpose, that she could control the little silver fox in her arms. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Becoming a beast tamer in the future was something that was inevitable. With such talent, even if Fang Jinyu didn't plead for her, she would be the target of all the disciples of the elders. Swoosh. The beast tamer Qingtong's figure and the others were no exception. However, at this moment she was in this top-notch beast garden had grown up together. In midair, their teamwork would be even better in the future. Suddenly appeared. This little fox was still young, blossomed in all directions. When it grew up in the future, how could its strength be compared to other demonic beasts? Garden appeared in midair. Fang Jinyu wanted to steal Luo plan to hide outside fell through but she made it sound as if she had given Luo Qingtong a great out of control. When everyone heard these words, they felt extremely strange in their hearts. The demonic beast Jinyu was simply trying to take advantage of the innocent and naive girl in front of her. We'll come to save you very soon. From it and make the girl feel grateful. The voice of the steward came from outside. If that young girl was really bewitched by her words and voluntarily handed over the little fox, and she instantly smiled. Then the matter of Fang Jinyu snatching a disciple's demonic really did a flawless job. Not only that, but it also made Luo Qingtong and the demonic beast here were beast-taming King Valley. They couldn't afford to lose any of them, so they locked her up. In the future, he would be even more loyal probationary disciple. King Valley. Even if she didn't die this time, even though this move was shameless, however, she was beneficial for Fang Jinyu and the beast-taming King Valley. Slightly, but she wasn't in a hurry to leave. It was actions just now were only to confirm what Fang Jinyu and the rest wanted to do. And naive face she didn't really want in their hearts. How could this young girl possibly win against Fang Jinyu? The deafening sounds all around became more and more intense. He was afraid that he would have to immediately offer up the silver fox in his arms. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept the surroundings, only to see that after the fences rose, the demonic beasts inside all raised their heads. Pairs of bloodshot and ruthless eyes stared closely at Luo Qingtong's direction. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was the only one left in the entire beast garden. Bang bang bang. Those demonic beasts stepped out of their respective cages. The entire beast garden was filled with the figures of demonic beasts. At this moment, Fang Jingyu received the news from the people in the beast garden, and instantly laughed heartily. Good. Very good. Luo Qingtong was trapped in that top-notch beast garden. Even if she didn't die this time, she would be half dead. She was just waiting to see how unlucky she was to take revenge for being crippled. Fang Jingyu's eyes flashed coldly. And at this moment, in the beast garden, Luo Qingtong also faced these demonic beasts that had stepped out of their cages. Roar! These demonic beasts roared towards the sky and charged towards Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianming. Looking at their figures rushing over, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed slightly. She released the suppressing aura of the ninefold exquisite pagoda in her mind, suppressing them in place. The aura of the group of powerful demon beasts was violent and wanton, but there was no way for them to approach Luo Qingtong. This was what Luo Qingtong had thought of when she came to the beast garden. He used the aura of the nine-layered exquisite pagoda to suppress these demonic beasts. This way he wouldn't have to expose his strength and wouldn't put himself in danger. Otherwise, how could she fulfill Fang Jingyu's wish and come to this beast garden? The other party wanted to teach him a lesson, but he had no idea who would be the one to be taught a lesson in the end. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The aura of the nine-layered exquisite pagoda spread out around her, protecting her and Little Silver, who was transformed into Bai Yi Qianming. Not to mention that she could only hold on for a short period of time, even if she stayed here forever she would still be fine. Rumble. Those demonic beasts couldn't get close to Luo Qingtong, so they immediately wreaked havoc on the plains, fighting against each other. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.